As Alice so graciously introduced me, I am Cornelia Judson, and I was born in this town in 1860. And my dream was to transform those in need in far distant parts of the world. Now, my family were prominent leaders here in Stratford and indeed in this church. And they gave me a superb education, a firm grounding in the Christian faith, and they gave me a desire to be of service in this world. The Sunday school that began in this church in 1873, and which was so instrumental in shaping my life and my beliefs, was the first Sunday school of its type in New England. And I think that is something we could all be proud of. In 1888, I was a young teacher, and I attended a lecture presented by the American Board of Commissioners for Foreign Missions. And I will tell you, I was stirred to action within 2 months of my making application to the board. I was given a position, and so at the age of 28, I sailed across this land and then across the vast Pacific Ocean to Osaka, Japan. This was indeed a very long journey. And when I arrived and set foot on that mystical land, it was unlike anything that I could ever have imagined, let alone ever experienced. It was an ancient culture transforming itself from a feudal system to an industrial society. Well, I secured a little house in the small island city of Matsuyama, and it was there that I established my elementary school for boys, and much to the surprise of many locals, for girls as well. It took quite a while to learn that language, but I persevered and I accomplished it. And with the help of others who shared my vision and my passion for education and the Christian faith, we soon expanded that school to include middle grade and then eventually high school. It was during World War I that we then established a college, a university. And that thrived through the 1920s. Thousands of students came through those doors. By 1930, I had given over 40 years of service. But there were many things happening in the world at that time, and it became clear that it was time for me to leave. It was a difficult decision to make, but a necessary one, and I assure you, the parting from my students was a tearful one. Now, I did not live to see the bombing of my school, July 27th, 1945. But I am told that I am still revered there. The school was rebuilt, and indeed, there is a statue there honoring me as founder. And there were 2 delegations that came from Matsuyama, right here to Stratford and to this church. And for all of this, I am greatly humbled and eternally grateful. Well, when I arrived back, I met a young man, a little boy, who is the next link in our chain, our generational chain. Reverend Severance, Little Ray, as we called him, we all called him Little Ray. And he was the dearest, most polite, welcoming, handshaking little boy. I can remember, and my home was right here at East Broadway and Elm Street. And I remember little Ray sailing by on his bicycle, waving, "Hello, Miss Judson!" Oh my, what a dear child he was. And I do hope he turned out all right. We'll soon find out. Raymond? Raymond.
So good to see you. Well, I certainly remember riding my bicycle with my buddies and racing front of the church on our bicycles, escaping the trolleys that zoomed past here in front. Those were great days. I had a great childhood. My parents, as you said, didn't teach me about how to interact with people. You all over here should listen to this. This is important. My parents taught me to look my elders in the eye, to shake hands firmly, to be polite, and to speak when spoken to. It was a great childhood. I was 18 in 1942 when Japan attacked the United States. I was a senior in high school, and suddenly our world was very different. We were worried about the servicemen who were captured overseas, and we spent many prayer sessions in church praying for them. We also had to get used to a lot of new things in Stratford. Air raid drills, blackouts, rationing. And there was truly a sense of hopelessness because we were so uncertain of our future. And one of the things that this church did for this community that still remains today is that our beloved organist, Dr. M. Louise Miller, initiated the Rose Window Palm Sunday concert. And she did that in order to provide inspiration and hope for not only the members of this church, but for the community at large. And I'm very proud to say that this church still has the Rose Window concerts, and not just on Palm Sunday, but under this man's leadership, they have expanded. And so I'm very, very proud of that because it's always been a wonderful source of inspiration for the community. Many of my friends joined the armed forces, and I was no exception. I was stationed in southwest England, and I was charged with providing food and meals for the thousands and thousands of servicemen who were coming over in preparation for D-Day. I can tell you that there was tension everywhere. In every activity we performed, we didn't know what was to come. And there was loneliness. We were 18 years old. We were away from our families and our friends. We longed for something that was familiar to us. Fortunately for me, I had a rock here in Stratford. The Reverend Stanley Selleck was our pastor, and without fail, he wrote me a letter every single week. And in those letters, He told me what was going on in Stratford, kept me close to home. He also reminded me to put my faith in God and to be strong in the face of fear and danger. And he pretty much demanded that I write back to him whenever I possibly could, and that was very important to me to help keep connected. And what he did was all of the correspondences he got, he put together in a weekly letter he sent to the members of this congregation. What a special and incredible man he was, and such a pillar of this church. Fortunately, I survived the war, and I was honorably discharged, and I came home and made the best decision of my life, and that was to marry Shar. And we raised 5 children, and were blessed with many grandchildren and great-grandchildren along the way. And we worked very hard, didn't we, Shar? We had some tough days. And yet, even with those tough days, we always made time for this church because it was so important to us and to our family. We served on boards and committees, Sunday school we taught, and then about 27 years ago or so, we came up with this idea. We wanted to have something that would provide fellowship for the members of the congregation and also raise a little money. And so we decided to do something we called the Lenten Fish Dinners. And we dragged our family into it. It became a real family affair. But it did just what we had hoped it would do. It provided food and fellowship and company for lots of people. And I don't know, it's still going today. By my estimation, we've served over 13,000 meals. I'd have to ask Bill and Sue for an exact figure. They probably have it right in their heads. But so proud of the things that this church has done. I mean, I've been here since I was a little child, baptized here. And to see that it's still going strong today, I wrote down a couple of important accomplishments that this church has achieved. We've sent out missions to the Philippines in 1960, Honduras in 2000, Zambia in 2001. We participated in the civil rights marches in Washington, D.C. in 1963 with hundreds of thousands of other people seeking justice and equality. We became an open and affirming church in 2005. We helped build the chapel and many of the buildings at Silver Lake Conference Center. We ordained 4 of our own members as ministers in 1982, 88, 89, and 99. And those are William Hodge, Jonathan Lee, Brian Brialt, who just preached here a couple of weeks ago, and Michael Ann Dunbar. We've reached out to the poor and hungry in our crop walk and Lord's Kitchen projects. And we have also stood behind 2 of our members seeking U.S. residency after having experienced religious persecution for practicing their faith. And they did receive their residency papers just this year. So much to be proud of. 1639 to the present. I want to tell you that the most important thing I think about this church, and this is my admonition to you, my call to you, is the people. You have to know the people. There are people in this church right now that you can look around and you say, well, they look familiar, but I don't know their names. Well, get to know their names. Don't be embarrassed to go up and ask them, what's your name? It's okay. They may say, well, gee, I've been a member here for 15 years. That's okay. I made it a point to know people as they walked in the door. Because when you're greeted with a firm handshake, like my parents taught me, and a polite smile, and you say their name, they're very likely to come back. I'm proud of this congregation and of the accomplishments we've achieved over these many years. And I look back in awe at the wonderful work we've done. Now, I will tell you that we have I'm the 6th in the 6 degrees of separation, but we have a +1, our future, She's a young woman who was recently confirmed. She has a wonderful, wonderful singing voice, and we're very proud that she is going to carry on what we have tried to do all these years. Her name is Meredith Bump.
Thank you, Mr. Severance. So as Mr. Severance said, my name is Meredith Bump, and I'm 17 years old, and I've been a part of the First Congregational Church since I was about 7. I recently became a member during my confirmation in May of 2012. Church has basically always been my second home. Everyone is always nice and friendly, and the entire community has been a large support system and a safe place to go to. I've struggled with anxiety and panic disorders, and whenever I've had any trouble, there's always at least a small handful of people who are willing and try to help me. But no matter how I feel, I always look forward to coming to church. My religion and church community has helped me get through so many things, whether it's been good or bad. My church has also expanded my passion for singing, which I will share with you in a couple minutes. The first time I performed at church, I was 10, and since then I have sung at many services. Singing during worship gives me confidence and makes me feel closer to God and to my religion. I am very excited about the future. My future and the future of the First Congregational Church. I'm grateful to all these generations that came before me and helped establish this church and kept it thriving through good times and through bad times. Our Sunday school provides a solid foundation for keeping young people involved with the church. I know our church will always be here because Christ lives. He lives here at the First Congregational Church, and He lives in all of us.
They called him After 375 years, I'm very grateful and very pleased for the good thing that God started here in 1639. Would you bow your heads for the benediction? And would you all rise, as we were told? And now may God Almighty protect your hearts and minds from the wiles of the devil. Keep you pure in heart and prepare you for the day of salvation. Amen.